So recently, we transitioned from parents of one to parents of two beautiful boys. And if I say it has been easy, I'll be lying to you. But the journey has been a bit smoother because of some tips and tricks that we were shared or were given. And those tips and tricks I want to also share with you, because freely I received and freely I am given. If you're interested and if you want to know how to transition from a family of one to a family of two or to a family of more, then please sit back, relax, and I will see you shortly. You're welcome back to our channel. Yes, this is our channel, and my name is Morayo. Today we're going to be talking about transitioning from one to two or more siblings or children within a household. Okay? And these tips and tricks that I am sharing with you, as I said before, some of them we received from others, some of them wisdom from God, and I just hope you can relate to them. I also would like for you to share some other tricks that you have applied, some other tips you've applied with yourself after sharing these 10 that I have with you. Are you guys ready? Are we ready to learn? Okay, so the first thing that I would say if you are planning to transition from one to two or more children is to plan ahead. I've written the tips down on my phone so that I can easily read them to you and easily share them with you and remember as well. So yeah. So to plan ahead, how do you plan ahead? You ask yourself questions. You sit down with your spouse. It's not just a decision that you take by yourself. You ask yourself, do we really want to do this? Can we really do this right now? Is this when we want to do it? Can we afford to do it right now? Okay, these are questions you have to ask yourself. Do I want to have another child? It's not just about what people expect of you, because sometimes society places pressures on you. Oh, it's time for you to have another child. Is it what you want? Can you handle it? Can you physically handle it? Can your body handle it? Can you mentally handle it? Can you emotionally handle it? Can you financially handle it? These are questions that you want to ask yourself. These are things that you want to discuss with your spouse, before you go ahead into the journey. A lot of times when you're pregnant or when you're going through it is when sometimes you may begin to really sit down and think about these things. But before it happens, you can actually ask yourself. Remember when I was pregnant, and because of all the symptoms I was going through, those first trimester symptoms where you're on the bed, you're in the hospital, I just used to ask myself, please, why would somebody go through this again? I mean, it borders on madness, but I don't know how God has done it. After you deliver, sometimes you forget those things. So if you can refresh your mind, especially mama, on the experience that you have or your experience that you had when you were, going through pregnancy and delivery and even raising your child, just sit back and refresh your mind and think that, can I handle this again? Can we handle this again? And if you've come to a place of peace over it, if you've come to a place of, rest over it, then please, by all means, go ahead. That's one of the ways that you plan ahead. You ask yourself questions, and if you're sure that you can handle it in all these ways, financially, emotionally, spiritually. Emotionally, a lot of people feel like, oh, can I give an equal love that I've given to the first child? Can I give that amount of love to the second child? Truth is that your love will grow. Your capacity will grow. You will expand. So if you truly want it, if you truly desire it, not to scare you, but you can do it. I think I've spoken enough on this point, planning ahead. The next thing I would say is to pray ahead. That's the second point. If you are a religious person, then you would know that grace plays a very, very important role in a person's life. From conception to gestation to delivery to just growing, grooming, the people that will handle the children, the school the child will go to, just protection in general, security. That you need to pray. You need to put all these steps into consideration. I remember I had someone that said even for the security man in the compound that they would hire, she would pray concerning those details. There's so many things to pray about and to pray. You can pray about their friends, the friends they're going to have, because the friends of a person really influences who the person becomes. You can pray about the environments that they will go into. You know, you can pray about so many things that concern them, and you can just pray ahead. If you envisage yourself having a second child, you can pray about how your toddler or the older sibling will adjust to the little one. You can pray about how even you and your spouse, how you will adjust to the change. You can pray about numerous things, different things to pray about when it comes to having a second child. And if you want me to share some of those prayer points with you, maybe in another video, you can tell me, oh, Mariah, please, can you share with me, you know, prayer points or likely prayer points that you can pray when you're having a second child? I'll be happy to do that, because I am a religious person, as you probably know. Okay, now the third thing that you'll be doing is to introduce your first child, or to introduce the older sibling to the new one very early, from even before you conceive. Let them know that we are thinking about giving birth to another child. Depending on their level of awareness, depending on their level of understanding, you can always carry them along in the process of having this new addition to the family. Our own the moment from which we start introducing the new baby to our older child, Joshua, was from when he was in the womb, gestation. We know we would tell him, baby is coming, or there's a baby here. Maybe when baby is kicking, we'll put his hand intentionally. Even though my son Joshua is a very independent child, and he's not very touchy. You know, there's some children that are touchy, especially for children that are touchy. You can always put their hand on the belly, let them feel the sensation, and let them know that there's a human being here that is coming. There's somebody that's coming. There's something that is coming, you know, and just keep introducing it and keep making them aware of the changes that will be happening. And in that period of time, show them as much love as you can as well. Spend as much, because your family is going to change very soon. Just take your time with that child in that introductory period to groom that child in advance for when the baby eventually arrives. The fourth thing fourth tip I want to share with you when you're transitioning is to divide your functions as parents. Divide them very clearly from early on. Assign roles and create systems of ownership to the children. Now, what do I mean? Especially when baby arrives. Before baby arrives, let your older siblings start getting acquainted more with your spouse, or with, if you don't have a spouse, with somebody else, maybe your mother or your sibling. Let them start getting acquainted with that person, because you can't really do it on your own. When new baby arrives, new baby will require a lot of your attention. In fact, you may not even have time for yourself, especially in those first few weeks. I'm a testimony. You may not have time for yourself. So you want to create a system already that, you know, helps to create a sense of security for the older child, so that they don't feel neglected, so that they don't feel wanting of love, so that they don't feel like left out. Okay, let there be one parent especially that is assigned to them. Currently, my son is mostly my husband's responsibility. He wakes him up. In fact, we sleep in separate rooms. I sleep with the baby in another room. My husband and my son sleep in another room. And that started from when I was pregnant and I wanted to do mother-led weaning. I breastfed my child till after I'd conceived of his younger sibling. He stopped breastfeeding at 22 months. And the way we did it was that I just started, I couldn't take it anymore, because my first trimester was very difficult, and to combine that with breastfeeding was a whole lot. So I moved to an entirely different room while my husband and my son stayed in another room. And it wasn't even as difficult as I think he cried on the first night, and then after that, life just moved on, and he somehow knew. I would just, whenever he wants to come to the breast, I'll say, no, go and eat food, etc. And that's how we survived. And so even after that period, from that period, he started bonding more with my husband. My husband started, going to bed with him. He'll wake up. He's the one that would bath him, feed him, and take him to school, because I was useless most of those mornings with having to vomit and all those things that come with first trimester. So we just continued that system. From then, we continued it even until now. Till now, my husband is primarily the one that, is my son's center of, there's a foci, there's a center of focus. He's the one that is that person for my son, for my first son for now. It's not as if we're not flexible. It's not as if I don't do things. I don't play with him, but the windows of concentration and the windows of attention that he has with me are way, way shorter in comparison to the windows of attention that he has with his father. Okay, now the next thing is the fifth thing is you want to allow your toddler or the older sibling to bond more with baby and to bond often with baby. As soon as baby comes, you want to start calling them, you want to start calling the baby their baby. So we used to call Ezekiel Joshua's baby. Even till now, we say Joshua's baby, Joshua's baby, Joshua's baby, you know. It's just to give the baby a sense of ownership and a sense of responsibility. And you should also send them on errands. You should also give them responsibilities. Try to focus more on the things that they can do in comparison to the things that they cannot do. I remember when my sister was born. She had stayed in the womb for an extended period of time, so she was quite a bit fragile when she came out of the womb. And so my parents would shout at us if we wanted to touch her or carry her, and that created some sense of hatred for her. Like, we didn't really like her, myself and my siblings, when my sister was very small. So I learned from that you should try to make the children bond. Don't focus on, if they're carrying, maybe they're carrying the baby wrong. Don't shout at them, you're carrying the baby wrong. No, focus on, you can help them. This is how you carry baby. You are just baby in their hands, etc. If you tell them to bring, I tell my son, go and bring Bobby pillow. Sometimes he'll bring the cushion in the parlor for me. I'll say, okay, thank you. It's not this cushion. Go again. So he can go numerous times until he gets it and brings, and you focus and say, thank you for the puppy pillow, thank you so much, etc. And if they do any little thing, maybe they peck their sibling, you say, thank you, or you say, you're doing well, etc, etc. Or maybe he's talking or he's singing for the little one, like Joshua does, and then the baby starts to coo, and I'll say, see, your baby is listening to you. So you focus on the things that they are doing with baby, and you highlight those things for them, because it helps. Now, the next thing, that's the sixth thing, is do not expect too much of your toddler. At the same time, as you're wanting them to bond, etc., don't expect them to be mature. Don't expect them to automatically receive the newborn. Don't be too mad that they get jealous. Don't be too angry, because they will. In fact, there are some naughty things that my son has done in this recent time that I'm like, is this you, Joshua? My son has carried one part of his movable car, and he has aimed at my new baby and stoned the baby. That happened once, and I was like, Joshua, you're not this person. And that day I beat him though. We flogged him. Say, don't do that again. Don't do that again. But we still cuddled him, brought him close, and brought the baby close to him, and told him, this is your baby. You take care of your baby, okay? It's from now that you teach them how to handle each other. You teach the younger one to love, and you teach the older one to love as well. Teach them to forgive, teach them to be understanding of one another. Is from now. So, but do not expect it to be an automatic thing. Don't expect them to mature, and don't let anybody talk down on your toddler acting out. Yes, all children are not the same. Maybe your friend's child did not act out, and I say, this is not normal. Your child should not be behaving. No, it's absolutely normal to be jealous when you feel that your space is threatened. In fact, the ways Joshua doesn't really act out, actually. The ways that he acts out is maybe the child leaves my laps and I'm carrying the Bobby pillow, my son will come and lie down. So once in a while, I'll create space for him and I'll let him lie down on my laps as the baby is lying down as well. So don't expect them. That's just something. Then the seventh thing is comparison cannot be avoided, but you can do it in gentle ways. From the onset, from when this child was born, there were different things that I would look at with my husband and say, Joshua had more hair than this. Joshua did this. It's not something that you can avoid. It's almost natural to compare, because these are two similar experiences that you are having. But yes, every child is unique. Every child is different. And in your comparisons, be kind. My little baby likes more touchy-feely, more attention, my son didn't mind, that's Joshua, he didn't mind being in his career, his Nuna leave. If you just put him there, this seat, I don't know what to call it, Nuna leave, sha. If you put him inside it, he will just sit down and you can leave and go and do other things. But my baby, Olututi Ezekiel, he likes to feel the body. So when he sleeps off is when we drop him in that Nuna leaf. I'll look for the name and put. So yeah, comparisons cannot be avoided, but you do them kindly, do them lovingly. Now, the next part, which is also related to doing things lovingly, is to give and to receive grace. I'm going to dwell on this part very much. Give and receive grace generously, not just anyhow. Give grace generously, receive grace generously. Let's start with, how do you give and receive? The first thing I want to talk about is to avoid shame, reject shame. There are different types of shame. Refuse it, refuse shame. Say after me, refuse shame. Refuse shame. Now let's talk about shame. There are different types of shame. From the onset, from when you deliver, there's delivery process shaming. Yes, there's some people that say, did you give birth vaginally? Even if you give birth vaginally, did you shout when you were giving birth? Did you not shout? Nigerians are wonderful. They shame you for different things without even knowing they're shaming you for it. So did you give birth via CS? How does that affect the price of rice in the market? How does that affect the fact that you have given birth and you are alive and you're well, which are the most important things? The baby is alive and you are alive, because delivery is a miracle. That you are alive and well, that your child is alive and well, is a testimony of God's goodness and God's grace. It's not everybody that has the opportunity, as sad as it sounds, but that is just the plain truth. So do not let anybody shame you for your delivery process. The most important thing is that you have come out alive and your baby has come out alive. There is mom guilt. Now, mom guilt will come across in different forms and in different ways, especially when it comes to the older sibling, the older toddler. You feel, I'm not giving this child enough attention. You can't. You're not even giving yourself enough attention. So just receive grace. Receive grace. Now, give grace to your toddler, because your toddler will also act out. The toddler, once in a while, the toddler may watch a lot of television than regular. Give grace. You can't, if you don't have enough hired hands or hired help, there's no way you can actively distract your toddlers. You cannot be actively involved in your baby and then actively involved in your toddler, and then just give grace. Receive grace. Let somebody help you. Let your partner help you. Let your siblings help you. Hire help if you can hire help. Okay? And give grace. Receive grace. Don't let anybody shame you. Especially after you give birth. People around you may want to start saying, you don't lose yourself, etc., etc., or you're losing yourself. I have friends that have told me that even their family members will say, you're already losing yourself. Your body grew to that size in 9 months, and 1 or 2 weeks out, or even 3 months out, you go for dedication. Someone is saying you're losing yourself. Doesn't add up. So please do not let anybody body shame you. Do not let anybody walk shame you. Don't let anybody walk shame you. If you're working in an organization, if you're working in a company, a lot of times people you may have supervisors that may want to guilt trip you. Even you, they may not even be your supervisors. You just be feeling bad that you're wasting company's money by being at home. You better receive grace. You better take out the time that you need to heal and stay healed. Okay? Don't stress it. Don't sweat it. Receive grace. Okay? There's also stay-at-home. There's stay-at-home mom shaming. That is a whole different topic, and we're going to talk about later. In the society that we are in the bid to empower women, we put down other women as well. How can you be at home when you're not working? It's almost as if you're risking your life, you're risking your future, you're throwing your education away, you're throwing your life away, you're going the easy route. It's not necessarily like that. There are periods of time when you have to, where some people, it's not everybody. In fact, a lot of women are stay-at-home moms for a period of time in their lives, or for extended periods of time, because it's what they can do, what they have been thrown by life, what they've been offered. Okay, and one of these days we'll sit down and talk about that. There's religious activity shaming. you can't pray enough, or you cannot fast. Definitely you can't fast when you're just giving birth. You can't read your Bible as before, and the devil wants to trip you or make you feel. Refuse shame and receive grace. Always talk to God, receive grace, because you cannot do things like you want to, especially in those first few weeks. There's spouse shaming. Honestly, I have a lot of there are different shamings here. There's gender shaming. Now let me talk about spouse shaming first. To be honest, not a lot of men are as selfless as they ought to be, especially when their wives deliver. And it's something that a lot of men should work on. But at the same time, you should still give grace to your spouse, because you may be overlooking more than you think, or more than you ought to, about what you think that they are doing or what they are not doing. There are times that I feel jealous, because life is naturally unfair to the mother. You are the primary caregiver for this new toddler. So your husband is going out and you feel he's living his life, he's going to work, he's doing just regular things that he will have done a normal day, right? And you feel like, we have a baby, you shouldn't be doing regular things. Just try to give grace. Let him know how you're feeling from time to time, but do it in love. Give grace and receive grace. Okay? And there's gender shaming, where you maybe you have, like I have, boy and boy, and someone unconsciously shames you for that, or girl and girl. Give and receive grace. Okay?
Stop.
So yeah, that's it. Just refuse shame. Now the next thing in receiving and giving grace is to cultivate patience. Cultivate patience with yourself and with others, with your loved ones. Just I usually think to myself that how similar farmers are to parents. We deal with seeds, we deal with rain, and we deal with patience. There's a lot of patience and tending to things. You are removing the weed, etc. So the process of farming is very similar to the process of grooming or having a family or growing a family. And in that process, a lot of patience is required. So you have to cultivate patience. If you're not a natural patient person, by default self, you start to grow patience. But consciously cultivate patience. When you're receiving help, it may not be in the way that you think it should be, or in the way that you like. Just be patient. Patiently teach. Patiently adapt. Cultivate patience. Give grace and receive grace. Okay? And then you want to make sure that you are asking for help. This is the final part of the whole discussion, the plenty discussion on giving and receiving grace. You want to make sure that you're asking for help and you're getting good help. You and your spouse cannot do it alone. You and your family members cannot do it alone. If you can afford to hire help, my help story is for another day. I had a help that left this house and said because she was bored. The person left a few days to my delivery. And, for those first few days, after delivery, was crazy because I didn't have anybody. But at the end of the day, someone in church or a group of church family members offered that someone from church should come and help us. And we generously agreed. So learn to receive help as well. Receive good help. Okay? So the 9th thing is to live in the moment. Please and please, just try. It's not easy, but try to live in the moment. Try to be conscious of things. Try to take each day as it comes. Take it one day at a time. Don't be overwhelmed. Just breathe in, breathe out, and live in the moment. Today will go, another day will come. Today will go. And don't feel any type of way. Don't feel useless. Don't feel like, all I'm doing is just focusing on baby. My life is slipping away. Before you know it, this period will go. So live in the moment. Take pictures, enjoy it as much as you can. In fact, even the baby blues, as far as it's not very serious, depressive ones, enjoy the roller coaster of emotions. Cry when you need to cry and get back up again. And that's why you need to, if you're not religious, I would advise you to know God. That's why you need to have moments with God, because there will be times where there will be nobody. Just you, maybe the baby, and then God. And then you pour your heart out to Him, and you live in that moment, and you keep going. Okay? You have grace. Finally, this one I would start with a story. You guys remember all these documentaries, right, where they're young of animals in the wild they're automatically vulnerable, especially when you just give birth, the young of wild animals, and you can see a lot of predators coming after them, and even the strongest of animals still have predators coming after their young ones. Okay, so what does this teach us? The more children you have, especially, the more vulnerable your children are in this world, and you have to pay extra attention. You have to be extra vigilant the more children that you have. It's not going to be easy, but especially when you hire help, please be extra vigilant. If you can, install cameras in your house. If you can, just always be watchful, always look as much as you can, because there are predators everywhere. And that's why I kept insisting on getting higher good help. But there's this much you can do. You cannot know the intent of a person's heart. You're about to say, the lizard lies on his belly flat. You don't know the one that has a stomach ache. You know, you don't know the intent of anybody's heart. And the heart of man is very, very wicked. The Bible says desperately wicked. So you have to just be extra vigilant. The more children you have, the more that you need help and you need hands to watch your children, the more that you have to be watchful and vigilant, and you have to engage with your children. You may be very dependent on your children's school. You know, at a point, we had to pay for Joshua to stay extra lesson in school so that I could just have some extra time to myself, because my husband goes to work. And there's just a lot that was happening. I was pregnant, now I'm with baby. You just need that little extra point of relief. But even with that little extra point of relief, you still have to be vigilant and watchful. Those are the 10 tips that I'm going to share for now. I hope you've learned something. I hope you're taking something away. And if you have any extra tips to share, please do so in the comments below. If you learned something, please let me know. And if you want me to talk about anything else in the coming weeks, let me know as well. Thank you so much. Remember, God chose you for your children. God chose your children for you. Your children are exactly perfect for you, and you are exactly perfect for your children. God bless you. See you in the next one.